Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Getting Closer. Today, our episode will kind of be different than what we usually talk about. It's actually going to be talking about Islamophobia in France. We reached out to someone who is Brahim's close friend. He's living in France. He's studying over there as well. And Brahim, you tell them the story.
He had a situation that happened to him in France. He got harassed in school and he was called terrorist. And he was called also a rich terrorist because he was living, he wasn't living, like he was from UAE. And people thought it was like he would take it as a joke, but it actually affected him. And it made him like have feelings in a way, يعني.
Like those type of stuff actually affect a person.
Yeah,
especially
they
if
think
like,
it wouldn't affect, but it would affect.
especially if they're like studying in a school.
Yeah.
Or like if he's a student. Another incident you mentioned earlier as well is he was walking.
He was walking at night, and 5 guys approached him because he was wearing the traditional UAE kandora, and he was beaten up, and they stole his phone. And they just kept on calling him names, like they called the scarf on his head. Like they just made fun of his clothes.
Of course, this guy didn't react back. He actually just stayed and took it all in, to be honest. So that's like what we need to actually learn from him something, because he just didn't react at all and he kept just going and didn't care. And he actually tried to help them sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's a lot of stories happens and all this, but I also researched about Charlie Hebdo, which took place in 2015 when he did a cartoon about Prophet Muhammad and Islam in general. So, I mean, a lot of Muslims react about this on social media and stuff.
People reacted too much.
Yeah.
They went in and...
I mean, also, yeah, and there are also 2 individuals, Muslims, who took an action on this in a wrong way, which they should not do it, and they start shooting at the office where Charlie Hebdo did the cartoon at, and they killed more than 5 people. I mean, from his staff and reporters.
That actually shows you like the difference of the reactions between people. One guy just didn't fight back; he actually just took it and tried to help them sometimes when they actually needed it in class. And then another person, he sees someone that actually goes to him and he shoots them like
exactly.
There is a very big difference.
Violence
you need to react in a good way, not in a bad way.
If someone is calling you something, mainly being called a terrorist, you don't just go there and shoot him. That's basically proving that all Muslims are terrorists, and you're actually proving his point. You should avoid that type of contact with that person.
No. And violence is not the answer.
It's never the answer. We have like 1.8 billion Muslims apparently.
And it kind of ruined our picture.
Yeah, and like you can't just go and ruin the image of 1.8 billion people. Like we're all affected by it. So we've actually reached out to an expert. I believe she's in Italy. Her name is Teresa. She's an expert in Islamophobic stuff, and she really helped us. She's my professor's colleague / friend, and she really helped us with a lot of her insights and experience. So apparently 72% of Islamophobic acts in 2014 were by France institutions, which I find that, to be honest, mind-blowing. Like, like if an institution is actually telling them to like go and be Islamophobic, it's just like not acceptable, especially if the government itself is telling people to do so. And a point she gave that proved that basically went over your friend's topic, Brahim, actually, is 1/4 of total Islamophobic acts occur in the field of education in primary and public schools.
The people think it doesn't affect us. It actually...
Like, the fact that 1/4 of the acts are being occurred in primary and public schools, not even like for old men or adults. No, it's just like schools.
For
like
children. And
it's just like when a child is being raised as a Muslim, and then just because parents are raising their other children as to hate us or hate a certain kind, it's just like it's 2021 and there's still that type of act. It's like we're over racism, we should be over all that stuff. Just we're all people, we all need to act in a certain way. It's just that not everyone could be what you want them to be. And especially here, for example, in Dubai. we're surrounded by a lot of cultures. We're surrounded by a lot of people as well,
Yeah.
from different religions, different countries.
We're all living happily.
I just can't go and force someone. It's just like over here, you don't see as much, or you don't see at all. I've never seen anyone who's just like a Muslim that goes and beats up another person because he's not
Yeah.
Muslim. Like, that represents us. We don't get represented by violence and terrorism. Now we're gonna play some voice messages about Teresa that she sent us.
In France, there is already in place a solid anti-discrimination legal framework that is based on European laws. However, since the beginning of the 2000s, the country has introduced several discriminatory laws affecting specifically Muslim communities. The first law was introduced in 2004 and focused on the prohibition of conspicuous religious symbols in the French public primary and secondary schools. This law was considered Islamophobic by civil society organizations and researchers focusing on discrimination in France. Research found that this law, introduced in 2004, had a disproportionate impact on Muslim girls and women, especially those wearing headscarves.
Thank you everyone for joining in. It was such a special podcast. Thank you for our professor as well. She really helped us by getting us in contact with her friend/colleague. Thank you to Teresa for all the information she gave us. Hope you guys learned something from this.
That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening.